Hello, and welcome to The Sleepy Owl, a cozy nook where you can gently unwind and drift into a peaceful night's rest. Tonight, we're sharing another soothing story, one that can help settle your mind and foster a feeling of quiet calm. But first, let's take a moment to prepare our bodies and minds for a tranquil, rejuvenating sleep. Settle in comfortably, and with each slow inhale and gentle exhale, allow the day's worries to gradually fade away. It can be challenging to pull away from the day's busyness, particularly as bedtime approaches. Yet remember, the less we stress over falling asleep quickly, the easier it becomes for our minds to release any tension. Let the gentle rhythm of your breath carry off lingering concerns, and let tonight's story be your guide toward deep relaxation. Now make yourself comfortable and let the warmth of the sleepy owl envelop you. Enjoy the story, and may you find a restful, peaceful slumber here in our little nighttime sanctuary. The raindrops softly patter against the bedroom window, creating a gentle rhythm for Lily as she transitions from dreams to wakefulness in the early morning. She attentively listens to each drop as it delicately bursts on the glass, counting them one by one until they become too numerous to track individually. Instead, she allows her thoughts to meander as they merge together, resembling grains of rice poured into a jar. This is the melody of the season. She muses, savoring the sound of the rain and the faint rustle of leaves on the branches. With a smile, she envisions the splendor of autumn hues and the gradual conclusion of the year. Lily stretches her arms above her head, despite the lingering darkness outside, signaling that it is time to rise. Soon, she will don her hat and coat and head to her bakery to prepare for the initial customers of the day. Although Lily commences her day earlier than her neighbors, she finds contentment in her routine. She adores her work and eagerly anticipates placing the first pastries in the oven and brewing the inaugural cup of coffee. The joy reflected on the faces of familiar patrons makes the early hours worthwhile. Furthermore, it ensures she is prepared for a restful night's sleep when evening arrives. Sitting up in bed, she uncovers her legs from beneath the sheets, then slides her feet into the welcoming warmth of plush slippers placed on the floor. After yawning once more, she rises to her feet. Silently tiptoeing into the kitchen, Lily instinctively maintains a hushed demeanor at this early hour, as night gradually gives way to day. Through the window, she observes the initial glimmer of morning light, casting a gray hue on the house across the street, where her neighbor still peacefully slumbers. He typically begins his day once morning is well underway, enjoying a cup of coffee before tending to his garden, meticulously trimming the grass and inspecting each flower and shrub. Lily admires the exquisite plants he cultivates, feeling grateful for the amiable individuals residing on her street. Approaching the kitchen counter, Lily brews a cup of robust black tea, her preferred morning beverage. Adding a splash of milk, she watches as the creamy liquid swirls and blends with the darker hue. Carrying the cup to her designated spot beneath the kitchen window, she settles into the wooden seat, bringing the steaming tea to her lips. The initial sip always delights her palate, welcoming the warm sensation that spreads from within, akin to the glow of a comforting fire on a chilly day. Looking through the glass at the sky, Lily notices the clouds have gathered into a thick blanket hanging over town. She believes there won't be a break in the rain today, but she isn't concerned. Autumn always brings this kind of weather, and she appreciates the unique emotions that accompany this season. Without the rain, she wouldn't have a reason to wear her cozy sweaters, slip on her favorite rubber boots, wrap herself in warm scarves, or carry her cheerful colored umbrella. In reality, she finds the rain quite enjoyable, as long as she has snug clothing and a cup of tea. After taking the last sip of tea, she rinses the cup in the sink and leaves it to dry on a small bamboo rack. Then she gets dressed for the day in her bedroom, stealing a final glance at her inviting bed before heading to the front door. She knows there will be time to rest later. In the hallway, she puts on her felt hat and woolen scarf, grabs her bright yellow umbrella, and steps outside. Opening the umbrella causes it to burst into a colorful canopy above her head. In the window of the neighboring house, she spots the familiar little white cat, owned by a nice woman who usually wears her hair in a bun. The cat gazes at Lily as she walks by, its expression revealing nothing. Lily smiles and waves at the cat. Apart from the cat, the neighborhood remains quiet and still. Walking along, Lily passes charming houses with dark windows, still asleep. A few porch lights flicker above brick steps, while the street lamps emit a soft yellow glow that mixes with the rainwater on the pavement. She listens to the rain pattering on the umbrella's fabric. Beneath its sunny yellow shelter, she feels safe and dry, reminiscent of the days when she used to build forts out of pillows and blankets as a child. Nestled under layers of cotton and fleece, she felt as if the entire world had condensed into a peaceful and secure space of her own. Lily smiles at the memory and uses her free hand to pull the woolen scarf more closely around her. She skips over a puddle on her left and weaves around another on her right as she begins her descent of the hill leading to the bakery's parking area. In the distance, the brightly painted door of the shop stands out against the gloom. Swirls of green, blue, yellow, purple, and orange paint dance across the wooden exterior, welcoming all who enter. She vividly remembers painting the door one summer evening all those years ago. Brush in hand, she let her creativity lead the way, combining the rainbow of colors into spiraling patterns all across the wooden surface. When she finished, she brushed the hair out of her eyes and looked down. Her overalls and hands were splattered with flecks of dried paint. She laughed, caught up in the joy of bringing beauty to the ordinary, if only in a small way. Now, Lily pulls out her set of brass keys and fits one into the lock on the door. It creaks open, revealing the dark interior of the still sleeping shop. She shakes off her umbrella and flicks a switch with her fingertip. The lights snap on, and she sighs with contentment. It's good to be back in the bakery. The smell of flour, sugar, and espresso beans greets her as she walks through the quiet shop. These aromas waft toward her from the kitchen, a reminder of yesterday's baking. There's also a hint of toasted pecans from the pie she made just before closing up. In her mind, she runs through all the things she plans to make today as she gets the bakery ready to open. She turns on the oven to let it warm up. First, she'll do cinnamon rolls. Like always, she thinks to herself. But this time, she can add some toasted pecans for a little extra crunch. She brings over all the metal components of the espresso machine that she left drying on the rack the night before. She'll also be making pumpkin pie today, she remembers. Every year around this time, her customers start to ask when the pumpkin pies will be done. Some people like to order by the slice, but there are always a few hoping to bring home a whole pie to share with their family. Lily walks over to the cozy seating area and reaches down against the wall. Her fingertips find a plug, which she inserts into the socket. Strands of fairy lights twinkle to life above her head. For a moment, she stops moving and her mind settles. Lily takes a deep breath in and looks up at the lights. As she exhales, a sense of calm washes over her. It's important to slow down and enjoy the small moments, she thinks. After all, these are the ones that make life magical. With the lights shimmering on the ceiling, she walks over to the counter and into the small open kitchen area. From here, she has a clear view of the whole shop and can easily move from her baking table to the espresso machine when people come in. She pulls 2 large white buckets of dough out from under the counter. The sticky dough has been rising here overnight. She pours it onto the wooden surface and spreads it out flat. Then she sprinkles it with cinnamon sugar and toasted pecans and uses the tips of her fingers to roll it into a large log. She slices it into discs, which have delicate spirals of filling running through them. She dusts the tops of each with more cinnamon sugar and then sets the tray in the oven to bake. After a few minutes, the delicious aroma of fresh cinnamon rolls wafts through the bakery. The comforting scent and the warmth of the oven intermingle, making Lily feel right at home. A while later, the oven beeps. She takes out the tray of rolls and sets it on a wire rack to cool. Now it's time to start on the pie. She makes her way to the pantry at the back of the kitchen and opens the door. Lily thinks of this space as her own magic room, packed full of all the ingredients and supplies that she could possibly need. Tubs of flour and baking powder are stacked beneath large canisters of spices and bottles of flavor extract. A jar of vanilla pods sits on the topmost shelf. There is star anise, fresh cloves and poppy seeds, onion powder, roasted garlic, and chili flakes. And there, on the bottom shelf, tucked near the back, are fresh sugar pumpkins from a farm up the road. She chooses a hefty, medium-sized pumpkin and tucks it under her arm. In a large metal mixing bowl, she piles jars of spices and a few wooden spoons. She balances it all with the flair of someone who is used to carrying more than they should. Lily sets her armful of ingredients down on the counter. First, she has to roast the pumpkin. She carefully slices the gourd in half and scoops out the stringy interior and seeds. Then, she sets both sides face down on a baking tray and puts them in the oven to cook and soften. While the oven works its magic on the pumpkin, Lily gets to work on the crust. There are many different types of crusts she could make, but her favorite is graham cracker. She got the recipe from her Aunt Lucy, who always baked mini pies for all the children during the holidays. Lily pulls a plastic sleeve of graham crackers from their blue cardboard box and sets it on the counter. She lays a tea towel over the package and gets out her large, heavy rolling pin. Gently, she rolls it back and forth over the towel, crushing the crackers below. She works the pin from side to side, feeling the smooth wooden handles move beneath her palms. The crackers crunch and snap under the weight. Once they are the texture of rough sand, she pulls open the corners of the bag and pours the contents into a mixing bowl. A little puff of graham cracker dust tickles her nose. Lily walks to the large silver refrigerator and finds a stick of butter. She unwraps the waxy packaging and plops the stick into a mixing cup. It goes in the microwave for just a few seconds until the butter is melted. She pours the butter into the bowl with the crumbs and adds a good amount of sugar and cinnamon. Using a long wooden spoon, she mixes them all together until they feel like wet sand. With her fingers, she spreads the mixture into the bottom and sides of a shallow pie dish. She works over the crust methodically, careful not to let it crack along the edges. She pushes and presses, a little more here, a little less there. Before long, it forms an even brown base. The oven beeps once again. Lily pulls on her thick, colorful oven mitts and lifts out the tray of pumpkin. Then she slides the pie dish into its place. She sets the timer for 12 minutes, just enough to get the crust a little bit crunchy so it holds up under the weight of the liquid filling. Just then, she hears a creak as the wooden door swings open. Her first customer of the day has arrived. As always, it's Seamus, the kind elderly man who likes to read his paper with a cup of coffee and a cinnamon roll. The only exception is on days like today, when she makes pumpkin pie. He smiles at Lily as she pours a long, thin stream of coffee into a mug. He's been coming into her shop for so many years, he doesn't even have to order anymore. By the time he reaches the counter and wishes her a good morning, Lily already has his breakfast ready to go. "Smells like pumpkin pie is on the menu," he says to her, taking his coffee in hand. She smiles and promises to bring him out a slice as soon as it's finished baking. He thanks her and takes up his usual seat by the window, snapping open the crisp fold of the morning newspaper. Now that he's here, it really feels like the day has begun. Lily enjoys working while Seamus is in the shop. He is as much a part of this place as any of her other regular customers. Together, they are a community, a family almost, and they call the Rainy Day Bakery home. She looks at the timer and sees the crust is ready to come out. She pulls on her mitts and removes the dish from the oven. It smells warm, sweet, and toasty. Just heavenly, as Seamus would say. Now, Lily turns her attention to the pumpkin filling. With a spoon, she scoops out the orange flesh of the pumpkin from the skin and drops it into a large bowl. She mashes it around with a wooden spoon until it has an even and smooth consistency. She brings over eggs and heavy cream from the refrigerator and begins cracking the eggs one by one, adding them to the pumpkin. Then she pours in the cream, watching its milky whiteness trickle through valleys of orange puree like little pearly rivers. Lily measures heaping spoonfuls of cinnamon, ground ginger, nutmeg, cloves, and cardamom. Together, the spices call to mind everything familiar and comforting about this time of year. This is the aroma of the holidays, of family and togetherness. As she mixes, the air seems to hold her in a warm embrace of memory and scent. She grates the tiniest bit of lemon zest into the filling to brighten the flavor and give it a little zing. She stirs it one more time until the mixture is perfectly smooth and silky. Carefully, she pours the filling into the crust, using a spatula to clean the sides of the bowl and get every last drop. Then she slowly carries the wobbly pie to the oven and puts it down gently on the rack. With the timer set, she has a few moments to rest. She leans back against her table and looks out over the shop. There's a bookshelf in the corner where people have left little paperbacks and large hard-bound art books. She's put in a few mystery novels herself over the years. After she finishes reading them, she likes to pass them on to someone else, knowing they'll bring the same kind of joy to new eyes. Near the shelf, there's a small hand-painted children's rocking chair. She found it in a second-hand shop years ago and brought it into the bakery for her smaller customers. Over time, various children added their own special touches to the chair. Now, it's decorated with flowers and bees, squiggly lines, and little scratches. The beep from the oven brings Lily's attention back to the baking task at hand, signaling that the pie is ready. Upon opening the oven door, a hot breeze reminiscent of dragon's breath greets her cheeks, carrying the nutty and savory sweet aroma of warm pumpkin pie. Lily carefully removes the dish from the oven and places it on the counter to cool, while she tidies up the mixing bowls, rolling pins, and measuring cups. From her vantage point by the window, she notices Seamus casting curious glances at the pie. With a chuckle, she cuts him a slice and decides to serve herself an extra piece as well. It has already been a long morning, and she can think of nothing more delightful than sharing a sweet treat with an old friend. Placing each slice on a small white dish, Lily adds a dollop of fresh whipped cream on top before carrying them to the table by the window. Seated across from Seamus, she hears him compliment the delicious aroma, a tradition that he appreciates every year. As Lily takes the first bite, she relishes the tangy pumpkin flavor on her tongue, finding the deep and aromatic taste to be a perfect blend of warm, sweet spice. While enjoying her pie, Lily gazes around her cozy bakery with a sense of pride. Seamus's smile reminds her that good friends make for excellent company on autumn days like this. Observing the twinkling fairy lights and listening to the rhythmic raindrops against the window, Lily reflects on how these details create a homely atmosphere in the bakery. Each element tells a story of the customers who have crossed the threshold of the creaky wooden door, leaving her content in the knowledge that she is exactly where she belongs. The raindrops tap against the window near Lily's bed, occasionally intensified by gusts of wind. Snuggled under the covers with closed eyes, she listens to the storm's fluctuating sounds, anticipating a blustery day ahead. Lily cherishes these tranquil moments when her thoughts drift and she retains the sensation of deep sleep. Eventually, a yawn creeps up on her, prompting a luxurious stretch of her arms and ankles in preparation for rising from bed. Inhaling deeply and exhaling slowly, she relaxes into the soft sheets, savoring just a few more moments before starting her day. The rain taps the window in waves as if curtains of water are opening and closing repeatedly. Another strong gust of wind rattles the branches of the tree outside, sending a flurry of raindrops toward the house. Days like this are always thrilling for Lily, when the weather appears wild and unpredictable. It feels as though the rain and wind inspire her to be a bit more spontaneous. With that in mind, she pushes herself up to sit on the edge of the bed and then stands, glancing out the window as she does. As always, it is still dark outside. Lily rises earlier than most people in town, needing to have the bakery open and prepared by the time others are beginning their day. She knows the rest of the neighborhood is sound asleep. Even the house cats are likely dozing in fluffy beds or on pillows by windowsills, awaiting dawn. Lily slips her feet into her cozy slippers and quietly pads into the kitchen. The first task is to put the kettle on for a nice cup of strong hot tea. Leaning against the counter, she listens to the water beginning to boil, hearing the bubbles rumbling within. From a drawer, Lily retrieves a small metal tea ball and fills it with fragrant strands of loose-leaf black tea. Each leaf stands at an odd angle in the ball, so she must be careful not to let any fall out as she twists on the top. She suspends the tea ball over the side of her cup by a tiny metal hook and chain. When the water is ready, she pours it over the tea. Bubbles rise from within the metal ball, causing it to float slightly before sinking to the bottom. A fan of tea color spreads out from it, tinting the clear water as it swirls around. Lily raises the cup to her nose and takes a deep breath. The aroma of hot tea on a chilly morning is delightful to her. Feeling spontaneous, she chooses to forego her usual splash of milk and opts to drink it black today. However, still craving the comfort of her routine, she carries it over to the wooden seat beneath the kitchen window, her usual spot for enjoying her morning tea while gazing out at the sleepy neighborhood on the other side of the glass. Some mornings, the first rays of light would already be filtering through the clouds by this time, but today the sky is heavy and dark. A blanket of gray clouds hangs low over town, and the rain is continuous, only interrupted by the ever-changing wind. She observes how it bends and sways the branches of the tree across the street. It's definitely coat weather today, she decides. Lily sips her tea slowly, feeling herself warming up a bit more with every drop. She wiggles her toes inside her fuzzy slippers, relishing the tingling sensation it sends across her skin. This is the most perfectly cozy morning, she thinks to herself. After finishing her tea, Lily washes out the cup and places it on a bamboo rack by the sink to dry. Even though the sun has not yet appeared, Lily knows it is time to prepare to go down to the bakery. With years of experience in opening her shop every morning, Lily feels like she has an internal clock that is finely tuned. She has a sense of when she should be finishing her tea and when she must leave to arrive at the bakery on time. In her bedroom, Lily selects a gray shirt to wear, a suitable color to match the weather outside. Once dressed, she moves to the front door, dons her thick wool coat, buttons it up, and wraps a chunky cable-knit scarf around her neck, a gift from one of her loyal customers, Rose, 2 winters ago. This scarf has become one of Lily's most treasured items of clothing, reminding her of the friendships she has made and warming her heart each time she wears it. Lily pulls one end of the scarf over her chin and tucks it into her wool coat. She retrieves a pair of large gloves from the coat pockets, putting them on one by one. The final item she grabs is her reliable yellow umbrella. Fully prepared, she steps outside, closing the door behind her. Pausing on the front step, she opens the umbrella. Despite the wind's resistance, Lily manages to expand the canopy, adding a cheerful touch of yellow to the otherwise gloomy morning. Steadying herself against the wind, she ventures onto the sidewalk, where the heavy raindrops drum against the umbrella, creating a cacophony of sounds beneath it. Spotting the small white cat that usually greets her from her neighbor's window, Lily sees that it is still asleep inside, nestled in the warmth with its pink nose tucked under its fluffy tail. Normally alert and watching her every move, the cat is taking it easy today. Lily observes the cat peacefully napping behind the glass. For a moment, She entertains the idea of being at home, snug in bed. However, thoughts of her loyal customers bring a smile to her face. They are the motivation behind her daily routine of opening the door to the rainy day bakery, regardless of the weather. She continues her walk down the wet pavement towards town, having to sidestep large puddles every few steps. The sidewalk shimmers under the streetlight's glow, with the sun still nowhere in sight. This will probably be one of those days where it stays dark until noon, she muses. Ahead, she glimpses the brightly painted bakery door, its brilliant colors standing out even in the dim light, welcoming all who pass by. It's a sanctuary for people on such a day, offering a warm drink, a slice of pie or a cinnamon roll, and the chance to read a good book. Some patrons prefer to engage in conversation, enjoying the company of both new and old friends in a familiar setting. She realizes that her bakery has truly become woven into the fabric of the community, a home away from home where everyone can find something to uplift their spirits. As this thought crosses her mind, a gust of wind flips her umbrella inside out. The handle jerks in her hand, and in an instant, the umbrella's canopy is blown backward. Exposed to the rain, Lily hurries towards the colorful door. Retrieving her brass keys, she swiftly unlocks the door, clutching her bent umbrella under her arm as she pushes it open to reveal the dark, quiet bakery. She wipes her feet on the entry mat to minimize the wet footprints she leaves behind, then flicks on the light switch with her fingertip, casting light into the small shop. With better visibility, Lily inspects her yellow umbrella and finds that several metal pieces are bent in the wrong direction, rendering the slider ineffective at keeping the canopy open. With a sigh, she places the umbrella on the ground in the entryway. Though it has served her well for many years, it's time for a replacement. Planning to spend the entire day in the bakery, Lily is uncertain when she'll find the time to shop for a new umbrella. She anticipates a damp walk home later, but she's accustomed to the local weather and is prepared to make the most of it. Taking a deep breath to clear her mind, she exhales, focusing on the day's tasks. The familiar scents of espresso beans, flour, and pecans from the previous evening linger in the air. On a typical day, the first thing she does is make cinnamon rolls. But today, she feels spontaneous, much like with her tea. Perhaps it's the wind or the rain heavily pattering outside, but Lily senses it's time for a change. She walks into the cozy seating area and bends down to plug in a strand of fairy lights. In no time, they twinkle overhead like diamonds. With a bit more energy in her step, she returns to the pantry, scanning the shelves filled with baking supplies and ingredients stacked high. "But what shall I make today?" she murmurs to herself. 2 days ago, she baked a blueberry pie, lemon squares, and pecan rolls yesterday, and chocolate muffins last week, all favorites with the customers. However, Lily ponders what would bring her joy. A few years ago, she stumbled upon her grandmother's cookbook on a shelf in the family home. While flipping through it, she discovered a recipe she had never attempted. Intrigued, she marked the page with a piece of scrap paper in the spine. Lily's grandmother's cookbook now rests on a dark wooden bookshelf against the back wall of the pantry. With a grin, Lily approaches the book and turns to the marked page. The recipe is titled Baked Apples. In the margins, yellowed with age, Lily spots her grandmother's distinctive handwriting, A note reads, "Perfect for a chilly autumn day." Throughout the page, her grandmother made corrections to the original recipe, little tips and slight adjustments to measurements to enhance the final product. This is what I'll prepare today, Lily decides. It's time to venture into something new. The list of ingredients is quite straightforward. She requires butter, brown sugar, cinnamon, nutmeg, rolled oats, chopped pecans, and several large apples. Lily gathers the ingredients and brings them behind the counter. She leaves the butter out to soften, then proceeds to prepare the nuts. After roughly chopping them, she sets them aside before measuring out the oats. Finally, she switches on the oven and lets it preheat. The subsequent step of the recipe is a bit more intricate. She must core the apples and create a pocket for the filling without splitting them in half. Beside the instructions, her grandmother wrote in the margin, "Use paring knife and spoon." Lily picks up her paring knife and carefully inserts the tip near the stem of the first apple. She slides it in and cuts a precise circle around to the core. Slowly twisting it aids in detaching the core closer to the bottom. With a gentle tug, it comes out. The hollowed-out apple reminds her of a pumpkin with its seeds removed. She sets the fruit aside and proceeds to the next one. Gradually, the task becomes routine. She effortlessly removes the core with one swift motion repeatedly until she has a line of apples ready to be filled. Next, it is time to prepare the filling. Lily collects the softened butter, sugar, cinnamon, and nutmeg and combines them using a wooden spoon. Once the spices are evenly mixed, she adds the oats and pecan pieces. Subsequently, she carefully fills the apples with the mixture, filling them up to the brim. After preparing the apples, she arranges them meticulously in ceramic pie dishes. Lily pours water into each dish until the apples' bottoms are just covered. Prevents drying and burning, Grandmother had advised. Finally, she is prepared to place them in the oven. Wearing thick oven mitts, she positions the pie dishes on the metal racks, closes the oven door, and sets the timer to alert her when it's time to check on them. While tidying her workspace, Lily hears the bakery door creak open. It's Rose, one of her cherished customers who has become a friend over the years. Rose greets her with a smile, hangs her scarf on a chair, and heads towards the counter where Lily has her coffee ready. Rose expresses her gratitude with a warm smile and inquires about Lily's day. Lily shares details about the baked apples from her grandmother's recipe and offers Rose the opportunity to be her first taste tester. The two engage in conversation about the weather on this blustery autumn day. Lily mentions her broken umbrella and doubts she'll have time to replace it before heading home. Rose reassures her, patting her arm. "I'm sure it will all turn out just fine," before taking her coffee to a table and sitting down. Shortly after, another regular customer, Seamus, arrives. Lily serves him his coffee and assures him a baked apple once they are done baking. Gradually, all her morning customers start to arrive. Some appear to have braved the storm with rain-splattered coats, while others shield themselves with folded newspapers or shake out their umbrellas upon entering. Lily attends to them, serving a variety of coffees, teas, and pastries. When the timer goes off, Lily turns away from the seating area and faces the oven. Carefully, she pulls out the pie dishes filled with apples, now soft and gooey. Lily notices Rose speaking with different customers out of the corner of her eye. She briefly wonders about their conversation at this early hour, but it's just a passing curiosity as her focus returns to the task at hand. She delicately removes the apples from the water-filled pie dishes and places them on individual plates. Walking over to the refrigerator, she retrieves a carton of whipping cream, pours some into a bowl, sprinkles sugar on top, and uses a handheld mixer to whip it into cream. The mixer hums as the beaters spin, and Lily observes Rose leaving. But she hasn't even tasted her baked apple yet, Lily thinks. When soft peaks form in the white cream, she stops beating. Using a metal spoon, Lily adds a dollop of whipped cream and a drizzle of her famous caramel sauce to each apple. The warm aroma of the hot apples and rich cream is enticing, filling the air with a sense of cozy comfort. She serves the first plate to Seamus and then to the family in the corner, the woman with the newspaper, and the man who typically orders cranberry scones. While distributing the apples, Lily sees Rose returning through the door with a long, thin package wrapped in shiny paper. Rose signals to Lily, who approaches her. "This is for you," she says, handing Lily the package. A handwritten note on it reads, "To Lily, from all your friends at the Rainy Day Bakery." Lily unwraps the paper to find a brand new umbrella inside. It is green with yellow polka dots and a handle shaped like a duck's head. "This might be the cheeriest umbrella I've ever seen," Lily tells Rose as she admires it. "Thank you all so much." Observing the room, Lily notices the wide smiles on the faces of the other customers. She realizes that this was a gift from all of them, a token of appreciation from her friends. The gesture fills Lily with warmth and joy. This place and these people provide her with a genuine sense of belonging. "I have something for you, too," she tells Rose with a wink, handing her one of the last 2 baked apples from her grandmother's recipe. Lily keeps the other for herself. They sit together by the window, looking out at the wet, gray, and windy day outside. Yet, in the Rainy Day Bakery, everything and everyone feels safe, warm, and cherished. Using a spoon, Lily scoops out some of the soft apple and gooey filling, perfectly spiced and delightfully sweet, made even more special by her grandmother's guidance and the joy of sharing it with dear friends. When Lily opens her eyes, the first thing she hears is the gentle rain outside her window. There is no wind, just the steady rhythm of droplets hitting the ground. She yawns, stretches, and relaxes in bed before starting her day. Today is a big day for Lily, as she will be hosting the annual cookie decorating party at the bakery. Although she made several batches of sugar cookies the day before, there is still more to be done before guests arrive. Cookie Day is one of her favorite times of the year, as the bakery is filled with warmth, laughter, and the smiling faces of friends and neighbors. After stretching once more, Lily gets up, puts on her fuzzy slippers, grabs her robe, and heads to the kitchen. Her morning routine is consistent. Lily starts by putting the kettle on and preparing a cup of cranberry orange spiced black tea. She enjoys the spicy aroma as she adds a splash of milk and settles into her wooden window seat. With the sun rising late in winter, it is still dark outside, with only a hint of light from a neighbor's nightlight across the street. As the one responsible for opening the bakery each morning, Lily appreciates being the first to greet customers with coffee and pastries. She gazes out the window, noticing the dark, cloudy sky and thinking about the forecasted snow. Lily touches the cold window and smiles, anticipating the magical atmosphere snowy days bring to the bakery. Working behind the counter, Lily has a clear view of the street outside. She enjoys watching children play in the snow, finding joy in their laughter and snowman building. While she appreciates rainy days, Lily believes everyone could use a little extra magic now and then. After finishing her tea, she washes her cup and returns to her bedroom to get dressed. Every year during the cookie party, Lily wears the same charming sweater that she received as a Christmas gift several years ago. The sweater features a friendly snowman with large trees in the background, knit as a pile of squares with a goofy grin that never fails to make her smile. Her customers also seem to enjoy the sweater when she wears it. As she gets ready for the day, Lily puts on her coat, scarf, hat, and gloves, and grabs her new umbrella, a green one with yellow polka dots and a handle shaped like a duck's head. She loops the cord around her wrist before stepping out of her bedroom into the front entryway and closing the door with a click, venturing out into the early morning rain. The rain has eased up a bit since Lily was in bed. Now it's more of a drizzle, but she still prefers the warmth and dryness provided by her umbrella. Opening it and holding it above her head, Lily listens to the gentle pitter-patter of raindrops on the cheerful fabric as she walks down the road. Using this umbrella always reminds her of her friends and loyal customers at the bakery who gifted it to her after her old one broke during an autumn storm. Their act of kindness is a gesture she often reflects on, and she appreciates the reminder on this rainy morning as she looks up through the colorful polka dots streaked with rain lines. Glancing over at her neighbor's window, Lily is surprised to see a black cat instead of the usual white one, peering out with watchful eyes and pressing its nose to the glass. Just behind the black cat, she spots a flicker of white, which turns out to be the tail of the cat she typically sees on her way to work. Lily watches as the cats readjust and curl up together like semicircles, completing each other's pattern. She thinks to herself, how nice for the white cat to have a new friend. Now they can keep each other company. With a smile, Lily continues her walk down to the bakery, and soon the familiar multicolored door comes into view. The first hints of dim gray morning light play on the horizon, allowing her to discern the different hand-painted hues on the door. Upon sliding the key into the lock and turning the handle to open the door, Lily steps into the warmth of the bakery. She shakes out her umbrella gently and leaves it to dry in the entryway, then wipes her feet on the mat and takes a deep breath, transitioning from the outside world to the cozy interior. The ever-present aroma of roasted coffee beans, mingled with a hint of burnt sugar from the previous day's cookies, fills the air and evokes thoughts of toasted marshmallows with their sharp sweetness. She advances and switches on the lights, illuminating the bakery. Moving to the seating area, she stoops down to plug in the string of fairy lights that twinkle above. Now prepared to start the day, she typically begins by preparing a large batch of sticky cinnamon rolls, but today is a bit different. She still needs to make a couple of batches of cookies to ensure she has enough of each type for later. Heading to the pantry, Lily gathers all the dry ingredients required. She is preparing double batches of both chocolate chip cookies and stained glass sugar cookies. Initially, she retrieves flour, white sugar, brown sugar, vanilla extract, black treacle, and chocolate chips. Next, she locates the cornstarch and salt. Lastly, she takes out a bag of colorful hard candies, which she will melt to create the glass panes in the stained glass cookies. From the refrigerator, she retrieves the baking soda and eggs. The butter has been softening on the countertop, reaching the perfect texture for use. Lily divides the ingredients by batch, then mixes the dry and wet components in separate bowls. Once ready, she combines them until the dough reaches the desired consistency. For the chocolate chip cookies, she gently folds in the chips to prevent them from breaking, then scoops the dough evenly onto a tray using an ice cream scoop and places it in the oven to bake. As for the stained glass cookies, she wraps the dough and lets it chill in the refrigerator. This process helps it firm up for easier rolling and cutting into shapes later. As the delightful aroma of baking cookies fills the air, her first customer of the day enters. It's Seamus, arriving for his usual cup of coffee and sweet treat. While he typically enjoys a cinnamon roll, on cookie days, he likes to be the first to taste whatever Lily has baked, jokingly ensuring they've turned out well. She has his coffee ready before he reaches the counter, sliding it toward him on the wooden surface. Adjusting the newspaper tucked under his arm, Seamus picks up the cup. "What flavors are you making this year?" he inquires, looking at the oven expectantly. "Chocolate chip, plain sugar, and stained glass," Lily replies with a smile. "I suppose I'll need to try one of each, if you don't mind," he remarks. "I must ensure they've turned out well, right?" Lily chuckles and nods. "Certainly," she says. "Cookie day wouldn't be the same without you." Seamus moves to the window and takes a seat, enjoying a view of the street with its puddles. Just as the first light of morning begins to brighten the sky behind the thick clouds, though the sun has yet to emerge, the clouds gradually lighten to a softer shade of gray. Just then, the timer alerts Lily that the chocolate chip cookies are ready to be taken out of the oven. She puts on her oven mitts and opens the door, feeling a warm gust of air as she peers inside. The cookies are puffy and golden brown, with gooey and thick chocolate that still holds its shape. After removing the tray, she places it on a wire rack to cool, filling the bakery with the warm, sugary scent of freshly baked cookies, a magical aroma that makes any place feel more like home. Soon, it's time for Lily to retrieve the sugar cookie dough from the refrigerator. The dough is cold and firm as she sets it on her wooden table and begins rolling it out with her rolling pin. With smooth, deliberate movements, she achieves the perfect thickness before using square, rectangular, and circular cookie cutters to shape it. She then uses a second set of cutters to create smaller designs within the cookies, such as bells, trees, ornaments, and snowflakes. Placing the cookies on a prepared baking sheet, Lily divides colorful hard candy into bags by shade and crushes them into tiny pieces with her rolling pin. Sprinkling the sweet dustings into the cutout centers of the cookies using a teaspoon, she knows that when heated, the candy bits will melt together, creating stained glass held in place by a cookie window frame. After preparing the cookies, Lily slides the trays into the oven to bake, taking a moment to appreciate the unfolding day. Despite the drizzle outside, the sky is brighter, and people are starting to emerge from their homes, either walking or driving. Gradually, a few customers, including Rose, a regular, and Gwen Spencer with her 2 young twin boys, enter the bakery. Lily can distinguish the twins by their attire. as one wears glasses while the other doesn't. Both dressed identically in red shirts, blue jeans, and green fuzzy Walker socks. The 2-year-old twins enjoy exploring the bakery, playing in the kids' corner, and interacting with other guests. They are aware that Lily is likely to offer them a sweet treat whenever they visit. Seeing them reminds Lily that she still has some preparation to do before the cookie party begins. Wiping her hands on her apron, she walks over to the pantry and gathers all the cookie decorating supplies she can find. There are sprinkles in every shape and color, thin ones, flat ones, and round gold and silver balls. She also finds jars of colored decorative sugar, green, blue, red, yellow, and purple. There are chocolate curls, coconut flakes, and tins of crushed peppermint candy. She places them all into a large basket, which she carries out to the seating area. She lays out an assortment of decorations on every table, along with tubes of icing sugar and colorful gel, and shakers filled with powdered sugar. Finally, from the very back of the pantry, she pulls out a large metal tree. Each of the branches is ribbed so that ornaments can be hung from it all the way down. But instead of ornaments, the tree will hold as many of the decorated cookies as it can. When her timer goes off, Lily returns to the oven and removes the stained glass cookies. She smiles to herself. They look absolutely perfect. Each cookie has a glossy center in bright and vivid red, blue, orange, yellow, or green. As they cool, she gets out the plain sugar cookies she made yesterday. These have already been cut into fun shapes like snow people, evergreen trees, snowflakes, and stars. One by one, she arranges all of the different types of cookies onto large silver platters. Every table will have its own, so people can choose to decorate whatever they like. But before she carries out the larger trays, she has a special delivery to make. She places one of each kind of cookie onto a small plate, which she sets down right in front of Seamus. He smiles broadly as he lifts the chocolate chip cookie to his mouth. Taking a bite, he sighs with contentment. "I think these are the best cookies you've ever made," he says. "In fact, I think they're the perfect cookies." This is what he tells her every year about each of the cookies. Happiness wells up inside Lily as she thinks of the satisfaction of a job well done. Every time she bakes a cinnamon roll, a croissant, or a cookie that someone enjoys, the knowledge makes her day a little brighter. Returning to the counter, she retrieves each of the larger trays and sets them on the tables. Then, glancing up at the clock, she sees that it's just about time for people to start arriving. As if on cue, the door opens and the first guests wander inside. It's one of the new families in town. They glance around with an endearing shyness. Lily waves to them and lets them know they can choose a table and start any time they'd like. They smile gratefully and pick a spot close to the door. Next comes an elderly couple who are here visiting their grandchildren. They always stop by if they have time while they're in town. They sit near Seamus, exchanging friendly greetings before settling in. People Lily knows from around town pour into her bakery one by one, old and young, alone or with loved ones. All are invited to the annual cookie decorating party. Everyone settles in around tables filled with supplies, filling the shop with chatter, laughter, and the sounds of sprinkles, shaking, and icing tubes being squeezed. In the cozy space, Lily feels completely content, embracing the warmth and sense of community. Glancing out the window, she sees the first snowflakes drifting down. soon noticed by a child. The room falls silent as everyone gazes at the delicate snow-covering cars, street lamps, and sidewalks. Lily wonders if her neighbor's cats are watching the snow too. Drawn outside by the magic of winter or the joy of the bakery gathering, Lily steps out to feel the snow on her skin. Opening the door, Lily steps outside, twirling slowly with her arms outstretched. Snowflakes land on her face as she laughs, feeling like a child again. She catches snowflakes on her tongue and in her hands, savoring the beauty of the snowy day. The world is hushed and serene, with a crow leaving footprints in the distance. Lily's own boot prints in the snow bring a smile to her face as she waves goodbye to the crow in the snow, returning to the cozy bakery. All around her, people are enjoying themselves as they decorate cookies. She sees palm-sized snow people with scarves and hats, green frosted trees with colorful ornaments, white and blue snowflakes with delicately iced edges, and white candles with curving yellow flames. There are stained glass cookies dusted with powdered sugar and attached to pieces of ribbon and string, and chocolate chip cookies with the occasional bite missing. The first few people have begun to hang some of their cookie ornaments on the metal tree in the corner. While most of the people take their cookies home, many leave one behind on the tree, where it will stay until the new year. Lily picks up one of the stained glass cookies and lifts it to her lips, taking a bite and feeling the deliciously buttery crumbs melt in her mouth. At its center, the pane of candy glass is sweet on her tongue. There's nothing better than a freshly baked cookie, Lily thinks to herself. For the rest of the day, she'll help her friends decorate their cookies in countless fun and unique ways, and maybe even have an afternoon coffee as a treat. But for now, she's content to stand here, taking in the festive atmosphere as the magical snow falls outside the window of the bakery. The gentle pattering on the glass eases Lily into wakefulness. She doesn't open her eyes at first, but keeps them softly closed as she savors a few more moments of rest. Without realizing it, she dozes off, the sound of the rainfall mingling with visions of damp streets and puddles in her mind. And then slowly, the dream fades as her mind returns to her bedroom. Lily smiles and opens her eyes at last, grateful for the few extra minutes of sleep. Even now, the sound of the rain is growing faint. It might let up altogether, she thinks, as she stretches her arms above her head. She traces circles with her toes, feeling her ankles warming up with every turn, then slides her legs over the edge of the bed. Once her feet have found their comfy slippers, Lily makes her way into the kitchen. Like she does most mornings, she puts the kettle on for a nice cup of tea. She loves the sound of the bubbles forming inside it, familiar and soothing, a kind of cozy background noise to the otherwise quiet morning. Bubbles and rain are the two things Lily can always depend on at this time of day that make this place feel like home. Before the sun comes out, she thinks about the other small, meaningful details of her life as she spoons dry tea leaves into a tall tea ball, twisting on the top. She hangs the ball by a tiny chain from the rim of her mug. Once the water has boiled, Lily pours it over the leaves. She watches the hot water take on the color of the tea leaves as they steep. This is a detail she appreciates. No matter how many mornings she watches her tea, it always creates new color patterns in the mug. The act of making tea is familiar and yet new and exciting at the same time, she thinks. Lily pours a splash of milk into her tea and then carries it over to her wooden window seat. Looking out through the glass, she can see her neighborhood is still shrouded in darkness. The rain has given way to a light mist, and she can make out the first wisps of fog rolling in behind her neighbor's house. The man who lives across the street keeps a beautiful garden during the spring and summer months. Even now, in autumn, everything growing around his house seems perfectly in its place. The brown, red, and yellow leaves that have already fallen from the trees overhanging his lawn remind Lily of an artistic splattering of paint on a green canvas. He is still asleep at this time of morning. I must be one of the earliest risers in town, Lily thinks with a smile. But she doesn't mind the hours she has to keep to run the bakery. It makes her happy to know that her customers always have a place to go when they wake up too. As she gazes across the street, Lily notices a small bit of earth that's recently been turned. He must have planted his bulbs yesterday, she realizes. It reminds her that she should probably do the same. There's a small garden just outside the bakery where Lily has experimented with planting various things over the years. One year she planted herbs, another tomatoes and peppers. Now it's a flower garden, or it will be in springtime, but she needs to get her bulbs in the ground soon. They rely on the cool autumn soil to wake up from their slumber and put down roots for the spring. I'll have to remember to bring them with me to the bakery today, she tells herself. After finishing her tea, Lily takes one final glance out the window. The fog is rolling in around the house across the street now. Fog was in the forecast, Lily remembers. She's always enjoyed a good foggy day, something mysterious and magical about fog, she thinks, as though enchantments and worlds of possibility are hidden just out of sight. The thought makes her grin as she stands and carries her mug over to the sink. After washing it out, she leaves it to dry on the bamboo rack and heads into the bedroom to get dressed. Today, she chooses a red shirt with yellow details to wear. If it's going to be a gray day, I might as well bring a pop of color with my outfit, she thinks. By the front door, a paper bag filled with flower bulbs catches her eye. The bulbs, ranging from fairly round to somewhere between hard and soft to the touch, include daffodil, narcissus, and crocus bulbs that remind Lily of onions and garlic. The hyacinth bulbs, with their reddish-purple color, bring to mind turnips. Lily dons her coat and carefully tucks the bag of flower bulbs into the large pocket. Putting on her hat and gloves, she secures the handle of her green and yellow polka dot umbrella around her wrist. Opening the door, she pauses to gaze out onto the quiet street. The fog shrouds her view in all directions, with only the faint outline where the pavement meets the road in front of her house visible. She envisions the other homes slumbering peacefully, nestled in soft folds of gray. Inhaling deeply, Lily appreciates the cleansing effect of the fog and preceding rain on the air, which feels cool and invigorating. Feeling rejuvenated, she closes the door behind her and sets off on her walk. Small puddles speckle the pavement, none large enough to detour around. Lily navigates them with care in her boots. It must not have rained heavily or for long last night, she muses. The opportunity to stroll to the bakery without her umbrella open is a welcome change. She takes advantage of this, gazing up at the gray sky. The fog envelops the treetops lining the street, weaving through their brown branches and colorful leaves. Lily extends her hand, softly swishing it through the mist, feeling the droplets gather on her skin. Examining her hand after withdrawing it, she notices numerous translucent droplets. Normally, she would wipe her fingers on her coat to dry them, but instead, she brings her hands together, welcoming the moisture into her skin as if applying lotion. The comforting feeling of connection to the place, the weather, the trees, and the sky washes over her. Her gaze shifts to where her neighbor's house should be, obscured by a white and gray mass of fog. Though she can see the edge of his driveway, the house remains hidden. Lily recalls her neighbor's two cats, one white and one black, and hopes they are snuggled together in their favorite window seat, dreaming of warm summer days and catnip. Continuing on her way, she listens to the rhythmic sound of her footsteps tapping the pavement. The fog heightens the proximity of sounds, amplifying everything under its enveloping presence. It takes Lily longer than usual to spot the bakery. Its recognizable multicolored door peeks out from behind a swirl of fog for just a moment before being tucked away once again. Lily smiles. Even if she couldn't see the door at all, she'd still know it was there. She's done this very same walk every morning for so many years. She could probably find her way blindfolded. But still, it's a comfort to see it, and to know she'll soon be stepping inside, surrounded by the familiar aromas of coffee beans, sugar, and flour, and plugging in the twinkling fairy lights that will bring her little shop to life. She pulls out her set of keys and inserts the right one into the lock. Heading inside, she wipes her feet on the mat and then switches on the overhead lights. Then she takes off her coat and hangs it up, leaving the bulbs in the pocket. Before going behind the counter, she finds the end of the strand of fairy lights in the seating area and plugs them in. They flicker to life above her. That might be my favorite moment of the day, she thinks to herself. She knows she's back home at the bakery as soon as the fairy lights are twinkling overhead. With a feeling of gratitude for this comforting space, she takes a deep breath, inhaling the deliciously familiar scents within it. The coffee beans smell thick yet rich. The flour is dusty and reminds her of weekends spent with her grandmother, baking all sorts of wonderful treats. And the sugar is sweet and a little bit burnt, reminding her of days at the fair and holiday cookies shaped like trees and ornaments. Exhaling, she feels her muscles relax. She rolls her shoulders a few times, allowing them to warm up and stretch out. Then she walks behind the counter. Before she left the bakery yesterday, she set aside a recipe for one of her favorite cold weather treats to make, fudge. Looking at the worn handwritten page, smeared with cocoa powder fingerprints and torn at one corner, is enough to bring the rich chocolate taste to mind. Yes, she thinks, this is exactly what I want to make today. One of her favorite things about this recipe is how simple it is. It only calls for 2 base ingredients, chocolate chips and sweetened condensed milk. Lily thinks for a moment about the flavors of fudge she'd like to make. Some of her regular customers always request peppermint, so she'll have to get out the peppermint extract and a package of candy canes to crush on top. Rose loves hazelnut fudge, so she'll need whole hazelnuts for the top. And finally, she's been in the mood for some rich orange chocolate, so that's what she'll make for herself. She even has some leftover candied orange peel she can use to give it an extra kick. In the pantry, she locates her reliable double boiler, the appropriately sized pans, wax paper, chocolate chips, sweetened condensed milk, and all the necessary flavorings and toppings. Carrying them carefully behind the counter, she admires her gleaming silver double boiler. Her mother had emphasized its importance for perfectly melted chocolate chips. Despite experimenting with bowls over pots and other methods over the years, when it was time to start her bakery, her mother's advice guided her to acquire her own shiny double boiler. Filling the bottom pot halfway with water, she places the second pot on top, then sets it on the stove and adds a generous amount of chocolate chips. As the water heats up below, the steam gently melts the chocolate evenly, preventing it from burning. Using a wooden spoon, she stirs the chips as they transition from hard to malleable to soft and gooey, swirling around the pot. The melted chocolate and sweetened condensed milk blend into a smooth mixture. Starting with the peppermint fudge, she stirs in a spoonful of extract after removing the boiler from the heat. The invigorating scent of peppermint wafts through the air, evoking memories of chilly winter days filled with ice and snow. Before it cools too much, she pours the chocolate concoction into a pan lined with wax paper. The fudgy liquid flows into the pan like a molten river, filling every crevice. Scraping the sides of the pot with the wooden spoon, she ensures no fudge is left behind. Lightly tapping the pan on the counter helps the mixture settle evenly. For the topping, she retrieves a sturdy rolling pin from a nearby drawer. Unwrapping red and white candy canes one by one, she places them in a bag between towels and crushes them with the rolling pin. The subtle cracking sounds indicate the candy is breaking into small pieces. Sprinkling the crushed candy over the cooling fudge, she ensures the larger chunks provide a satisfying crunch, while the smaller bits enhance the peppermint flavor. Lily transfers the fudge to the cooling racks, where it will remain until it's ready to be sliced and served. Meanwhile, she cleans the pot and gets ready for the next 2 batches. Prior to starting the next batch, she grates an entire orange for its zest. The tiny bits of peel will enhance the fudge with a vibrant citrusy taste when combined with orange oil. After melting the chocolate chips and mixing them with milk, she incorporates the zest and oil into the pan. The melted fudge sparkles in the light, with the oil blending in to create a smoother consistency. Lily envisions how it will melt in her mouth with the first bite. She adorns the fudge with twists of candied orange peel on top, gently pressing them down to set. Taking a piece, she savors the sharp citrus flavor balanced by the thick sweetness enveloping it. Next, it's time to prepare the hazelnut fudge. Just as she is about to heat the water on the stove, Rose emerges on the opposite side of the counter. "It's really foggy outside," she remarks to Lily. Rose recounts getting disoriented earlier in the day while leaving her house, momentarily thinking she had gone the wrong way. The dense fog made it difficult to see beyond her own hands. However, she eventually spotted the bakery's twinkling lights in the distance. They acted as guiding beacons, leading her through the mist to her cherished sanctuary. Grinning widely at Rose's narrative, Lily eagerly informs her about the forthcoming hazelnut fudge. "That's my absolute favorite," Rose exclaims, softly clapping her gloved hands together. Lily pours a cup of coffee for Rose, who takes it to a cozy spot by the window. Returning to the stove, Lily sets up the double boiler and combines the chocolate and milk as before. After removing the mixture from the heat, she adds hazelnut essence and crushed hazelnuts, pouring the blend into the prepared pan. To complete the process, she meticulously arranges whole hazelnuts in orderly rows on top of the fudge. Each piece will feature a hazelnut, contributing both crunch and a rich flavor profile. Glancing at Rose, Lily notices her smiling as the aroma of hazelnut fudge wafts through the air. The decadent scent mingles with the orange and peppermint, creating a delightful blend for the chilly day. While waiting for the fudge to set, Lily decides to plant the bulbs during the quiet day, thinking it will allow her to keep an eye out for any customers. She approaches Rose and gently places a hand on her shoulder. "I'll be outside if you need anything," she offers. To her surprise, Rose volunteers to assist. Lily appreciates the company in the garden. Although she finds solace in her solitary moments with the plants, she cherishes the time spent with dear friends. After many years, Rose has undoubtedly become a cherished friend. Together, Lily and Rose head to the door, slipping on their coats and scarves on the way out. When they reach the small garden, Lily pulls the bag of flower bulbs out of her pocket. Rose opens the top of a workbench where a few tools are stored and finds a couple of trowels. The two women kneel down on the ground, laughing together as they feel the dampness of the soil soaking into the knees of their trousers and begin to dig. They chat about all the seasons they've watched go by here at this bakery. There was the time Max from the hardware store accidentally ordered 12 dozen cupcakes instead of 2 dozen for his daughter's birthday party. They were practically begging people to take cupcakes with them for a couple of days. And the one summer when a storm came in and washed out a few roads, stranding visitors in town. Everyone congregated at the bakery, making coffee and snacks and collecting blankets, children's books, and more to keep their new guests comfortable until the roads were repaired. "We've had some good times here, haven't we?" Rose asks. Lily nods, patting down the soil around the last flower bulb. Standing up, she steps back to admire their work. Rose follows her. They stand together in companionable silence, sharing a moment of reflection and gratitude for years well spent. Lily watches the fairy lights twinkle like guiding stars in the foggy gloom, leading all who need a home away from home, no matter the weather. A rainy day bakery